Hello everyone and welcome back to Insights at DDLynn Designs, a unique twist in the ancient art of wire. This is DDLynn and I'm really excited today to share with you what I call a 2-wire bail wrap. You can also use the same concept on creating a basket around your cabochon. I won't be doing this today. If you are interested in learning this, you all need to give me your comments and feedback below that you'd like to see me teach you how to do this concept that I'm going to do on the bail and wrap a cabochon with that same design. So what I've done, this is what I call a 2-wire bail weave, and it's actually like a figure 8. So what I was doing was playing around with the wire one evening, and I thought, what if I use 2 wires instead of 1 wire when you're doing a figure 8 so that the wire wouldn't slide up as much? And I tried it and I loved it. So I really am super impressed how well it keeps the wires sliding up really fast, and I think you're going to really like it. So don't forget to hit the bell so you know when my next tutorials are coming out. Please leave your comments and feedback, and it takes 1 second to leave a thumbs up. So I'd really appreciate that. So what I've done is I'm going to be making a little bit over maybe a total of 1 inch, okay, because this is a very small stone. It's less than 1 inch. And I don't want this big, huge, giant bail on this. So I've separated my wires. Again, this is a bail weave, and we're using 2 wires. I've cut myself about, let me tell you, that's about 3.5 feet of wire. And what I'm going to do is cut my wire in half. So let me get that one out of the way. And I'm hoping that this all stays nice and focused. So I want my wire to come on top, underneath, because, sorry you guys, I'm thinking and doing at the same time. So I'm gonna start with this side, and I'm gonna go around number 1 wire once, and then I'm gonna go over 1 and 2. Then I'm gonna come back in between 1 and 2. I'm going to go over wire 3, which is coming in the middle of both of these wires in the V shape. And I'm going to come back up in between wires 2 and 3. And my wire is now coming out the top, and I'm going to leave it there. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to come over, we're just going to call these 1, 2, and 3 again, not 4, 5, and 6. It gets too confusing. So we're working with 3 separate wires. So I'm going to go over wire 1, back over wire 1 and 2. Let's get this little guy out of the way. In between wire 1 and 2, over wires 2 and 3, and in between wires 2 and 3. So now we have 2 wires coming out the top. So here's the fun part. Normally when we're doing a figure 8 with 1 wire, we're just going in and out, over and in and out each wire. What we're going to do now is we're going to cross over. So both wires are coming out the top. We're going to bring this wire down through the middle of your V, and we're going to bring it underneath the opposing or opposite 3 wires. We're going to do the same thing with this one coming over the top, and we're going to come down in between, and so we're coming underneath, and we're going to cross over. So now we're going to do that same weave, but this time we're coming underneath on both sides. So we're coming underneath, so we're going to come in between wires 2 and 3, over wire 3, back underneath wires 2 and 3, over wire 2, and then we're going to go over wire 1. Then we're going to come over wires 1 and 2, in between wires 1 and 2, over wires 2 and 3, in between wires 2 and 3, and we're back on the top. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're coming underneath, we've crossed over, and I'm going to come over wire 3 all the way around, coming back up underneath, over wires 1 or 2 and 3. Oh, it gets so confusing. right? 2 and 3, 1 and 3. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. Back up underneath, and now we're going to go over wires 1 and 2. And we're going to push them down. I'm going to tell you, you're going to really notice how well this stays secured and doesn't keep sliding up. Now we're going to go back up over, so we're going to start from the top, 1, 2, 3, wires 1 and 2, in between wires 1 and 2, over wires 2 and 3, and now we have both wires, sorry I hit my camera, back on the top. I stood up so I can see how this is focusing. Looks a little blurry, doesn't it? Let me turn my light off. That does not look any better. I don't know, you guys. Give me a moment here to play with this. That seems super bright. Let's try that lighting. Really don't understand why we're not getting the correct focus here. Let's adjust my light. Nope, that was worse. That was worse. I don't know what to do. Oh my goodness, you guys. I'll be right back. So I can't figure out, because I am not a videographer, why this is not focusing in good enough, but I'm wondering if I adjust the size. There we go. Wow. This is just a whole new ball field for me. I really don't understand all this stuff. So right now we have both wires coming out the top. So I'm going to do this several times so that you can see it again. And if you didn't get a very good view on the original or the starting of this tutorial, then I'm going to do it as if we're starting over when I get back around to this side. So I'm actually standing up so that you can see this. So both wires are coming out the top. So we're going to cross over and we're coming up underneath and we're bringing that wire over and we're going to cross over. And you've noticed I came, it's really hard to see what I'm doing standing up. Oh my God, I'm going to have to sit down. Underneath, so the wires are crossing over. So they're both coming out the other side. So we've just crossed them over, just like a figure eight. So now, give me a second here. I'm going to scooch my chair in. I'm sure you can hear that horrible squeak. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm coming out from both sides. I'm coming underneath wire 3, and I'm wrapping over it completely, coming up underneath wires 2 and 3, and over it, and then coming up underneath wire 1 and over that wire. So now I'm going to go back over like if we first started, over wires 1 and 2, in between wires 1 and 2, over wire 2 and 3, in between wires 2 and 3, and back out the top. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm coming out the back. So I'm up underneath wire 3, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to come in between wires 1 and 2, over wire 1, back up underneath, in between wires 2 and 3, over wire 2, back up underneath, over wire 1. A complete full rotation, coming out the back, coming back over, and this time we're going to wrap over wires 1 and 2, in between wires 1 and 2, over wires 2 and 3, in between wires 2 and 3, and now we have both wires coming out the top. See these wires? So it's the same thing again. So all I'm going to do is get my wires out of my way. One was poking me in the face. is I'm coming in between both these wires. Now remember, this is coming out the top, so I'm coming in between both. And here's a little tip. Instead of just coming up in here, bring that wire down on an angle so that you get a really good balance of center on that wire. And then bring this one in between both those two wires in the middle and on an angle. That way they're centered up. So it's the same thing as before. I'm coming underneath, so I'm going to go over wire 3, underneath, over wire 2, all the way around wire 2, underneath, over wire 1, all the way around the top, over wire 1 and 2, in between wire 1 and 2, over wire 2 and 3, in between wire 2 and 3, and that wire's coming out the top again. So the same thing on the other side, wire's coming up underneath, it crossed over. I'm coming underneath wire 3, all the way around, coming out the back, coming in between wire 2 and 3, in between wire 1 and 2, all the way around the back, over wire 1, complete rotation, back over the top, over wires 1 and 2, in between wires 1 and 2, over wire 3, all the way around, and we have both our wires coming out the top. So let's do that again. And you can use this on any kind of weaving pattern. Did I do it on this? I'm looking on any kind of design. No, I did not do it on that one. So these wires absolutely are not sliding up. So I'm just going to do this a little bit quicker now. So I came over, I'm in between, I'm crossing over, and in between and crossing over. Is that right? Yeah. Sorry, it looked weird to me for a minute. So let me see if I can show you a little bit better. You should have an X. But it's still a figure 8. We're going under, over, just in different directions. You see that little X right there? So it's coming underneath. I'm going to go over wire 3, all the way around, in between wires 1 and 2, over 2, and over 1, back over 1 and 2, in between 1 and 2, back over 2 and 3, in between 2 and 3, and I'm back at the top. So same thing over here, over wire 3, all the way around the back, in between wires 2 and 3, all the way around the back, over wire 1, then over wire 1 and 2, in between 2 and 3, over wire 3, and we've got 2 wires coming out the front. You're going to really see this start to take its design shape as we get further and further away. It's just beautiful. I love it. Like I said, I was just fiddling around with the wire. So now we got 2 wires coming over the top. I'm just going to bring that one over and come in between and bring that one over. And here's a little clue, try not, or a tip, not to let that bubble. So just push it down with your finger. And I may not have enough wire. My estimations might have been off. Won't be the first time. So I'm back up on the top. So I'm underneath now. Remember, we crossed over. So I'm coming up under wire 3, all the way around the back, in between wire 2 and 3, all the way around wire 2, coming out the back, over wire 1, all the way around, back over wires 1 and 2, in between 2 and 3, back over wire 3. Both wires are coming out the front. So same thing, I'm going to cross over, and I'm going to cross over. You just want to make sure that you're making that little X, or sometimes it'll look like they're straight across. So I am underneath, coming in between wires 2 and 3, over all the way around, coming up in between wires 1 and 2, over 2, over wire 1, complete full rotation, all the way around wires 1 and 2, in between wires 1 and 2, all the way around wires 2 and 3, in between wires 2 and 3, and we're back at the top. Same thing over here, I'm underneath, over wire 3, all the way underneath and around the back, in between wires 2 and 3, all the way around wire 2, which is coming back in between wires 1 and 2, all the way around the back, over wire 1, complete full rotation, all the way around the front, and back over as wires 1 and 2, in between 2 and 3, and both my wires are coming out the top. Isn't that beautiful? I just love that, and it's so secure. I'm not getting any sliding at all. So I think it's really a great way to do a bail, or here's a really cool visual. Imagine you're doing a bracelet, and instead of doing your figure 8, your normal figure 1 wire, you're going to use 2 wires, and it's going to give it such a tighter look versus having just the 1 wire coming across and waiting for that other wire to come around and over. You've got 2 wires crossing over each other in the middle. And I just saw my little X there. So let's do one more, and I think you guys have got it. So I'm crossing over, and I'm crossing over. Now, as you get further away from the wire, you might have a little bump in the road, so to speak. You'll find that the wire might be moving weird. Just adjust it with your pliers. So I've got my X. Make sure you keep that wire straight. Coming up underneath. Over wire 3, underneath, back in between wires 1 and 2, over wire 2, back underneath, over wire 1, over wires 1 and 2, in between 1 and 2, over wires 2 and 3, in between 2 and 3, and I'm back on the top. And I see a little bend in my wire here, so I'm going to move this guy out of the way. And I'm going to straighten him. There's really no pushing down, that's for sure. So I'm going to bring that underneath. I'm coming back underneath, coming in between wires 2 and 3, all the way over wire 2 and back underneath, over wire 1, all the way around wire 1, back underneath, over the top. Now I'm going to go back over these 2 each time until I come back to center. So now I think that's plenty for me. I'm going to move my wires in. So I'm just going to grab my pliers, slide down, and I'm going to make an X. Or not an X, well, kind of an X. I'm going to make sure they're centered up. So I don't really want my bail much bigger, especially for this. Now I'm just using my fingernail instead of my pliers. And this is 20 gauge, so it's really soft. You should be able to push it over. I'm going to show you another cool tip. turn your wire around into your best working position. That way you're not fighting it from over here. I'm right-handed, so I'd be fighting it, trying to get it behind these wires. So I'm just going to turn it over in my best working position and push those over. Now I'm going to align them. And here's a really cool little tip or technique. This is where I want my bail to stop. So for beginners, if you get a marker, you'll know where to bend your wire. So all I'm going to do is put this down on my mat, and on the inside of the top of the diamond, so here's the top of the diamond right here, that's where I'm going to make my mark on each side. Don't worry about that down there. So I know where to bend my wires. So you can start on either side. I'm going to start here by putting my thumb. Here's another tip, because I don't want that wire to get out of shape down here. And I'm simply going to pull it, and I need to look because I can't see if you can see what I'm doing. So I'm holding my thumb right below the line, and I'm going to pull that wire away. Instead of trying to do all three at one time, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to pull that wire, oops, out of camera. I'm doing this not a normal way for myself, but I wanted you to see. And then we can line it up. But see how nice that is? It's nice and clean, and that V is coming together beautifully in the middle. So those are really good tips, tricks, and techniques. These things will absolutely accelerate your journey in the ancient art of wire. And this is why I talk about it a lot, to really look for technique to make your life a lot easier. So I want to just do a couple more wraps just to show you how this wire is not going to slide up. And if it does, it's very slight. Definitely a huge difference in comparison to a normal figure 8. So both wires are coming out the top. And I'm going to go back up underneath and drag that wire over. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Come in between and drag the wire over. Now I'm going to come over, the same thing we've always been doing. And you're going to really feel a difference. If you've been doing figure 8s for a while, you are most definitely, I'm going to move my camera, going to feel a difference on, wow, yeah, the wire's not playing with me like it normally does. So I'm wrapping over wire 3, coming up underneath, coming in between wires 1 and 2, over 2, all the way underneath, and all the way around wire 1. Then I'm going to go over wires 1 and 2, in between, over wire 3, in between, and I'm back at the top. So same thing here. I'm going to come up, and you don't have to pull really tight, but I noticed my wire got a little curly back there, so let me straighten it out. There we go. So if you have to, turn your work around. Always get in your best working position. There we go. Let's tighten that up. So I'm going to go over. I'm going to count this as 3. 1, 2, and 3. Wire 3. Back in between wires 2 and 3. Over wire 2. All the way around the back. Over wire 1. And over wires 1 and 2, in between 1 and 2, over wires 2 and 3, in between 2 and 3. It's really amazing. When I was just, like I said, when I was playing with this, I was like, wow, I love that. My wires aren't sliding all over the place. I'm loving this so much. Just making some adjustments here. Okay, let's do some more. So where am I coming from? I'm going to come back underneath. I'm going to cross over, go in between, and start the same pattern again. I really want your feedback, you guys. Please let me know how you like this, and I really want to know the difference you felt. Because right now, if you were doing a traditional figure eight, I can guarantee you, as soon as we hit that midpoint, those wires start beaming up those sides. I mean, they're just really working hard to race to the top. I'm going to turn it over just to get in my best working position. And the back is just as equally as pretty as the front. So this is typically how I work, but for the sake of the tutorial, I wanted to stay on the front side. I am always moving my wire back and forth, front and back. Sometimes I'll turn it upside down. So both wires are coming out, and you see how nicely this is all staying together. It's not sliding. It's amazing. I know I keep saying that. I just was so happy about it. I was like, I love this. I'm never doing a traditional figure eight again. Truly. Unless it's like a little itty bitty tiny end or something. But I just love this whole 2-wire concept. And I'm incorporating it into a lot of different designs. Now, did you see that? It slid up, but that's okay. As soon as I brought it back down, sometimes you'll notice when you're doing a figure eight, it slides up and there's too much tension on the wire, so it creates this gap for you. Well, I was able to bring it right back down. I think I'm going to run out of wire. Wire's getting a little short on me. I'm definitely going to run out. I can feel that I'm not going to have enough. So I'm just going to come underneath and cross over, and underneath and cross over. Now here's a tip for beginners. If you notice, I'm always very lightly lifting my finger up and putting it back down on the back. So I'll do a little slow-mo on that. I'm holding the wires firmly against the back, lifting up for a second, and then coming back around. So let me get in a good working position. Now here I felt just a slight bit of a little bit of a slide, but as I mentioned to you earlier, you'll feel a little tiny, but nothing like a single wire figure eight. So see how nice that is? It's just so nice. wire's getting short. So as a beginner, you're going to tend to, if you've been already watching a lot of tutorials, use a lot more wire than you need, because it's very difficult to figure out how much wire you're going to need. And as your wire gets shorter, it's much harder to control it. But do you see how nice and clean that's all staying? And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to have, I think, just enough. I won't complete the bail and wrap it around the piece. This purpose of this was just to show you how to do a 2-wire figure 8 bail wrap. And hopefully I will have enough on the top. So let's come around the back, because I want to show you one more cool little tip or technique to change your bail and make it look more 3-dimensional. Get that guy out of the way. So we are getting right to the neck. So I'm going to do the same thing like when we first started, and you could barely see how it was crossing over. Noticed my wire was getting a little bit too far away from, so I was just squeezing it in a little bit more. Ooh, I'm running out here. I am on a short leash, no pun intended. Okay. So now, if I had enough wire, what I would do to close this off, because I'm going to take this apart, because I know there's no such thing as perfection, but I like to do things a certain, I did that twice. I keep doing the same thing because my wire's so short. Okay, let's do this right. There we go. Nope. Did it again. Okie dokie. That's where I want to be, over wire 2. So what I would do at this point is I would wrap over both of these. Then I would bring these, just to give you an idea. So instead of crossing over, I just came in the middle like I normally do. Let me get up so I can see if you can see. So they're both coming out the back this time, not the top. And then to close it off, I would wrap the same way from before. Some in the back. And you can weave as much as you want, but I'm not doing a tutorial on bail patterns as far as how to do what I'm going to do after this, but I just wanted you to see how really cool that is and how it stays on. Let me show you a really cool trick. I like a lot of dimension. I get tired of straight lines. So this is a dental tool. You can use anything. And I am going to, let's see if I can do this in my hand. I'm going to press down on the middle of those wires, and it's going to create an entirely different dimension on the wire. And it gives it kind of a 3D effect, and it just makes it look so much cleaner. Can you see that? Isn't that cool? So now when you're making your bail and you're going to pull the neck forward, and I just use my hands, and then you're going to just bend at the middle. It's going to give that bail just a beautiful, beautiful look. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And these wires are not sliding. And if you want more of that after you bend it, go ahead and go back in with whatever little tool and needle and really push those wires in, rock them in, really push them down. Almost gives it like a bow effect, like a bow tie. I'm doing this in the air instead of on the table. See the top of that bail? Isn't that gorgeous? And those wires didn't slide. They didn't move. There's no gaps. I just love this design, and I really hope you guys do too. I really love your feedback. Let me know how it worked for you. Truly, you can always email me at DDLynn Designs. That's plural, DEIS as in Sam, GNS at Gmail. You can follow all of my social media. Instagram is DDLynn Designs, and my Facebook is DDLynn Designs, and my webpage is DDLynn Designs. So if you really want to see how to make this whole piece, you got to leave me your comments. If I don't get any feedback, then I am not going to make it, and I'll just come up with something else. So I really appreciate all of you. I wish for all of you all that you wish for yourselves. And as Thumper said in Bambi, please be kind. It goes far greater than anything we could possibly share with one another. So if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. I wish for you, again, all that you wish for yourselves. Have a magical, wonderful wire wrap day. Bye for now.